the revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.
Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Our Kings were here, Frank Smith, Caribe Royale, Orlando. How are we, mate? It's the second time I've been here this year. It is a good location for Fight Week.
It's good, mate. It's 24 degrees out there. Sun is shining. Beautiful. Beats some of the locations for Fight Week, doesn't it?
I was going to say I've been to a lot worse, but look, you can't really complain. I want to talk about your relationship with Jordan Thompson. I just seen you uploaded a picture on Instagram, and my naivety or just complete lack of awareness forgot how close you actually were. How old were you in that picture? I'll put it up on the screen, but you two were kids, and yeah, you've got a good relationship.
I was 3 years old, so my mum is Jord, or still, but like best friends with Jordan's mum. But when we were much younger, and I think like the first probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years of our life, we were very close, or like we'd spend a lot of time, you know. He lived in Manchester and I lived in Essex, and it was strange because, you know, as you grow older, you sort of detach yourself a bit from everything, and especially with work, like even school and everything. Like I sort of just focused on work for many years, and then one day, someone said to me, like, someone came up to me and went, "You know Jordan Thompson?" I was thinking, right, and they showed me a picture of me and him as kids. And I didn't put the 2 and 2 together, you know. And it turns out we grew up together like very young, you know, first early years of our life, and now here we are today. It's mad how the world goes round. It was a picture of him. He's in Mickey Mouse pajamas as well, so it might be, you know, a bit of a thing from the Lord.
I was going to say I saw the picture and I was like, holy shit, that's going back some. Do you feel that these kind of fight weeks, it's a bit of a full circle moment? Look, no one's like, you're not both like 90 years of age meeting, but you're at this point in your life, you're doing X amount in your career, he's just making a return for his career, and it's like, are you sort of, I know you're the promoter of the event, but a little bit emotionally invested? You want to see him do well?
Yeah, of course. When you know someone, I know his family well, I know his mum well, I know his dad very well. They're obviously from sporting backgrounds with karate, you know, and his dad does amazing things in the community, as does his mum. So yeah, for me, like obviously that connection there, and his little brother, his sister, like I know them all. So yeah, it's a bit different when you have like that relationship and you want to see people do well, like people, especially good people, and they are good people. They've always been good people, and you want to see them succeed. So it is strange now looking back at that picture, and you're here now together, and think, how have we got here?
Do you know what? I remember I went through some of the interviews I did last time we were here just to see, obviously, volume and people who we spoke to. Our interview we did, the title was "Boxing's Full of Arseholes," and then we've just now, 6 or 7 months later, we're in this scenario where it is nice to see the flip side of that these kind of moments can happen. Isn't it?
Yeah, boxing is still full of arseholes. No, but there's a lot of nice people as well in the sport that you want to see succeed. Yeah. But like, I'm sure some people think I'm an arsehole. You can't please everyone, can you? And you know, everyone's going to judge people on their own individual merit and what they know of them. But yeah, it's nice to see nice people do well and people you know, and you know, it's going to be an interesting night on Saturday. I'm excited to see it. Jordan looks unbelievable. I think when you look at that Opetaya fight, like to see obviously what Opetaya has gone on to do, but Jordan really struggled with cruiserweight. But that was his opportunity. Like, you can win it, you get a chance to win a world title. Are you going to turn it down? No. Like, and he was eventually going to move to heavyweight, whether it was 1 fight down the line, 2 fights down the line, and he's taken time since then. I think when you look at the shape he's in, he looks unbelievable. And you got, look, Lenihan Pero is obviously a very talented fighter. Many people probably have him as favourite, but you can't write Jordan Thompson off in this fight. And I truly believe it's a true 50-50 between these two guys.
What I liked about speaking to Jordan was he says, after the Opetaya fight, I wasn't one who was going to go on camera and make excuses. But also, I'm not really a cruiserweight. He says, I struggled the fights before that to make the weight. He says, and now I've got rid of this injury thing. I've had the work done that I needed to have to it. I've switched my team up and done this. He says, let people talk. And that's always, I think, a good sign. He's coming here with sort of back against the wall, knowing this guy's amateur pedigree, going, if I kick this door down, I unlock the door now to a heavyweight division where, when you look, win, lose or draw, Dave Allen, for instance, 10,000 seats in a state in the Sheffield, he can come against, they'll have big fights. Top to bottom, your Fraser Clarks, Jamie TKVs, these are all good fights and good fighters. So it really is there for him, isn't it, if he grabs this by a bull by the horns kind of thing.
100%. But he's also put himself in a position where he's taken a proper fight. Because a lot of people in his position would go, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's like, he believes in himself. So, again, it's a fickle sport. And it shouldn't all be determined by wins, losses. And again, I know it's easy for me to say that, I'm not an athlete, but it should be about wanting to see great fights and people test themselves. And he tested himself. He went in there against who we now see is the number one at cruiserweight. You know, he took his chance. Didn't go his way, but he's back again, you know, and he can really, as you say, change his life on Saturday.
Let me just touch on Pat Brown. So I've done an interview with Sam Jones today, and look, Sam likes to talk. I'm not doing him a disservice by saying that. He says he beats every cruiserweight in the world right now. I'm like, so I reiterated, every cruiserweight, obviously, Pataya's unbelievable, pound for pound for me, possibly top 10. You look at the other names in and around it and you go, you know, he's 4-0. And Pat sat next to him and he rolls his eyes when he said it. But everyone I speak to says the same thing. He's definitely going to be a world champion, this kid. Definitely a world champion. And you guys have got him now where I feel like he's ticked a lot of landmark moments. He's already headlined. He can sell tickets. More importantly, he can fight as well. And now he's crossing overseas to sort of introduce America to this, you know, him, and give him a new audience. How excited are you for Pat Brown to be making his American debut on Saturday as well?
Yeah, buzzing for him. You know, when he sat in our office, he sat down and he said, I just want to knock people out, I want to have tear-ups. And for me, that was like music to my ears. Maybe not a trainer, but, you know, for me, that's like, come on, you're in the right place. But it was always about a journey of what we're going to do with him. Headline his first fight, huge ticket sales, like you say, 5 fights this year, so active. And he's going to headline again early part of next year. And he is really like a bit of a throwback to fighters we haven't seen in a while. And he's going to go as quickly as he wants to go. I believe, I truly agree with them, what they say. When you see how hard this guy punches, like, people don't want to... Look at what... Dave Allen's been in there with everyone. And what Dave Allen says about Pat Brown. So we're excited about the journey with Pat Brown. And I think it's going to be tough to keep getting opponents who are willing to take the challenge. And that's why he's really going to be stepped up maybe quicker than other fighters would do. Because it's like, well, who'd you put him in with?
I said to Jamie Moore, is that kind of like a difficult place to be? Because, you know, when you get a fighter that's raw, not to go too deep with it, you sort of go, all right, well, we know we need to move him slow, and you can, yeah, he's getting better. Or, you know, a guy who's like elite, who's had like, you know, you get your once in a lifetime greats who turn over late from the Olympics, and it's like, look, he'll be world champion within 8 fights, like, you know. And with him, it's like, you can't give him someone who you're going to bowl over in a minute, but then what do you give him? You can't give him up a tire either. So there's that sort of middle ground. Is it? Give it a rest, but you know what I mean, don't you? So is that, from a promoter standpoint as well, like you mentioned there, is that the difficulty with this lad, that how far do you let the reins go off him? There's no going back when you go.
No, but I think you kind of have to accept that for him to progress and develop, you know, he's going to move quicker than others, and he's going to be, because otherwise it's like, what do? You keep knocking people out rounds 1 and 2. Like, maybe he just keeps doing that. Like, if he's at, like, but let's see what happens on Saturday, because this is a real test. Former world champion, as you said, been in there with, obviously, with Bivol, went to points with Bivol. Obviously, I know he's up now at cruiserweight, you know, but shows the skill level and skill set this guy has. So this, I think this Saturday is going to be a real telling fight. If he goes in and knocks him out in 1 or 2 rounds, you're sitting there going, whoa, like, where do you know, because it's like, what opponents do you get? And there's only a limited option of who you look at, and then you do have to step up quicker, probably.
Something a little bit different that's kind of like breaking news. I know I've only just told you this off camera just to make you aware, but Andrew Tate has been announced as a headline to fight Chester Moore on the Misfits scene. I know this isn't your guys' kind of bag or your business, but just as a point of view of him entering the sport, and he has been announced as a CEO. I don't know whether that's his WWE name for this or whatever, but he's fighting in the main event. Are you past the stage of being surprised about anything that happens within the sort of the boxing realm, or what do you think of it?
Not really. I mean, well, how could you be? This is you have to sort of keep it separate. You know, Misfits is Misfits, and that's not me. I think it's a brilliant product. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you're into, and like, don't get offended by if that's not what you're interested in, just don't watch it. Like, that's in a whole nother world. You know, it's an entertainment product more than anything else. You know, interesting that he's now the CEO. Don't know what his former CV says about CEO of a boxing or a boxing entertainment or whatever it's called this week. Did he take Mams's job?
Apparently KSI's.
Did he?
That's the real. So I know what it is.
No, I know what it is. So he's taken KSI's job. He's going to fight Chase Moore, and then he's going to fight KSI
for the CEO of the
title,
company,
for the CEO Global Champion.
At the WWE.
I would just like to say I ain't getting involved in any fights. I'm not a big enough deal, obviously, but I ain't getting involved in Misfits CEO Championship.
Would you love a knock, like a little? I don't want to say a charity knock, but yeah, there must be a few people in boxing you look around going, we'll raise a few quid, because I know you've done a little sparring. I don't know how seriously you've ever took it, but you must think, fuck me, let's have a whack. There's a few.
Someone soft. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a few names that I'd say I'd have it with them, 100%. But not.
That's cool.
I mean, you don't have to do too much thinking. But not in a sense. I'm not hard. Like, I've never had a fight in my life. Huh?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a tough guy. You know, I am soft as shit. So no, I don't really want to have a fight. I prefer being behind the desk, you know, on that side of things, because it wouldn't end up too well if I had a tear up.
It'd be interesting. I think people would pay to see it. It'd be interesting. Let me ask, Josh Kelly. So news came out about, obviously, he's fighting that Matchroom. We're going to be putting that fight on. We're hearing Manchester. We're hearing there'd be a date, I believe, January. What's the situation there? Because from my understanding, outside looking in, he's promoted by Wasserman. Purse bids were no purse bids. It's just Matchroom putting the fight on. Deal done with Louis de Cubas, according to Eddie. So, are Matchroom now promoting Josh Kelly moving forward, or is that a case of a corporate? How's that work?
Yeah, Matchroom will be promoting Josh Kelly. You know, but nothing's announced yet. Nothing's, you know, lots of talk. So I will always wait until it's formally announced on all these things. But yeah, I've been speaking to Adam Booth quite a lot. He still has some form of relationship with Wasserman, but not from a promotional capacity, as far as I'm aware. So Matchroom will be promoting him. Would be promoting him moving forward.
That's another interesting one, where I think where Josh Kelly's been in his career and the sort of highs and the lows that he's had. I know he's been away for a while now, but to get him back and potential for the world title, and then you've also got Jerome Boots Ennis waiting in the wings. It's sort of like, is that part of the puzzle of doing that fight as well? Yeah,
partly. But also, look, if Josh Kelly can become a world champion, he becomes a British world champion that has a lot of value. You know, look, we worked with Josh for the majority of his career. He's obviously gone to Wasserman. And had a number of fights there, but we'd worked with him, I guess, for 14 fights, something like that, off the top of my head. And we have a very good relationship. You know, we never fell out with him. It was just at the time, other opportunities presented themselves for Josh. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see him back. It's a tough fight. It's a real fight, but I think Josh is a very talented fighter, very capable fighter, and it goes back to the fickleness of this sport. He got beat by David Avanesian, who was at an early stage of his career, you know, where it was a real fight. And rather than people writing fighters off, it should be like, fucking fair play. He tested himself, and he didn't win. But that shouldn't be the end of someone.
Moving on, I want to just pick up on comments that were made by Chris Eubank Jr. regarding contracts. Now, Eddie said that his contracts not with you guys for the fight, it's a separate issue. But when he's talking about parts of the negotiations for this fight still haven't been sorted and finalised. I'd seen this on The Ring, by the way, I think they did the show, and he said, no, there's still things me and my team need to get finalised. From your guys' point of view, there are no changes, though, are there? Because it's the same as the first one. It was a rematch with exactly the same terms. Are you anticipating anything moving into this fight week? I mean, obviously we see the relationship live play out between everyone, not yourself, but with Eddie, etc. as well. So are you anticipating some sort of fight week drama, whether it be with weight or whatever?
It's Eubank Jr. Of course there's going to be fight week drama. You know, of course there's going to be drama. He's the king of drama. He's the chief victim officer, I'll call him.
Chief victim officer.
No, but he's a victim, isn't he? Everyone's done him dirty in life, and it's at some point in life you have to look at yourself rather than blame everyone else. Chris is very good at blaming everyone else. Oh, this promoter, that promoter, this, that, the other. Like, well, sometimes look in the mirror, because we've had great relationships with fighters for 15 years. We've promoted the biggest British name and one of the biggest global names of the sport since his debut all the way through. Like, sometimes you have to go, actually, is it me? Am I the problem? He's been through about 7 different promoters and seems to have fallen out with every one of them. So when I say chief victim officer, I mean everything is always, oh, poor me. Fight week, he loves drama, that's what he does. But he's great at it. It's part of the game, isn't it? He's a showman. So it is what it is. It's a show.
With that fight, the way I sort of saw it from the outside looking in for this rematch, I look at Conor and think the first fight was so amped up on emotion, everything he'd been through from the first fight and everything surrounding failed tests and this, and it was there was a venom there for, I'm going to take your head clean off your shoulders. Whereas this time round, I'm not saying that's not there, but he looks more at peace with, maybe I have to take the emotion out of this to get the best out of me. Don't get me wrong, call on that dog in the fight, because you can react to it, but do you see a little change in him now, a bit more of a, don't want to say discipline, but more of a, you know what, this I can be more workmanlike. I know if I do certain things with a clear mind without thinking, I have to take your head off, there's more of a likelihood he gets the victory.
Yeah, look, I think you see a completely different Conor Benn now. You only have to watch him. You only have to watch the press conferences, the way he reacts to things, to see actually he's very different to that first fight. And that comes with experience. And you have to also remember, like, whether people like it or not, he had a lot of pressure on himself. It had been 3 years of build-up to that moment. And, I think in the fight, what won Chris the fight was the experience. Of being, through that 12 rounds, and he dug it, and fair play to him. And what a fight. And you have to respect both of them for what they created that night. Chris deserved to win that night. He, in the latter rounds especially, he came on, and I think Conor had never had the experience like that. Conor had never been in, like, maybe like Chris has been in the tough fights, whether it's been George Groves, names he's been in with, and I think Chris used that experience, and that's the game, isn't it? But I think going into this fight, Conor, like you say, much more calm, relaxed. He's been here, he's done it. He's been in in that environment now. But at the same time, Chris is going to come better. You've seen it. Again on his camp, you've seen the posts he's been putting up. So you're going to see a better version of both of them. It's like, but how much did the last fight take out of Chris? How much did the last fight? Conor's much younger than Chris. You can play it every which way. But I think that the fact that Conor is now much more composed is going to be much better for him in the fight.
Anthony Joshua, we've always got to talk about him. He's one of the most talked about names over the past decade. I think a lot of people owe a lot to him for the views and the sort of, things he brings to the sport, but everyone's talking about when he's going to come back out. Eddie alluded earlier in the interview, I think I heard him say with Colm at IFL, that it kind of depends on what Tyson Fury's doing. Now, Tyson was at the boxing at the weekend. I seen in a recent interview with Furosity, he's very much, look, I'm quite happy where I am, but we also know Tyson to a point where a lot of money and the opportunity, and it's entertainment, and he likes to entertain. Does your heart of hearts say that this fight happens next year, or do you think, because Eddie's saying if we know the Fury fight will get done, we'll take a fighter in the top 20, maybe not what you think, if not we have to look at serious challenges. So where are you sat with it all as we speak now?
Look, I would love to see the fight. I think the fight will happen, but how much talking have we done over the years? Just being like where it's like, oh, we're going to make this, and it hasn't happened. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, 100%. Do I feel it will? Personally, yes, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean it will. But I think so many people want it to happen. And I think it's too big of a fight not to happen. So we shall see. Only time will tell with that. But for so long we've been like, yeah, it will happen here or happen there, and it doesn't. So it's it. We want it. AJ wants it. and I think that's one of the biggest fights out there in the sport to be made.
What's the pivot move for AJ? You look at all the names out there. Will Usyk take Fabio Wardley? Will that fight happen? But you know, when people talk about that, though, I just think Usyk must look at everyone and think, well, why am I fighting you? Because he's beating everyone. Like, other than when you look at maybe I heard Opetaya potentially moving up to heavyweight, and you look at them kind of fighters, Ajit Caballel, I think deserves a chance. I think Parker deserved one before Wardley, and Wardley deserves one now. But he must get to a point where he looks and goes, what do I do? So what's your thoughts on the whole scene at the minute at the top end with Usyk?
I think it would be good to see the Parker-Wardley rematch. You know, look, people will have a view. I think it's easy, you know, in hindsight, for people to be watching a broadcast from different angles and go, oh, why has he stopped that? Like, you're not in there. You know, like, the ref's got a job to do, and it's easy for everyone to be a critic, you know, and say, he's done this wrong. He made a call, which is his job, to make a call for the safety of a fighter. But obviously Joseph was ahead in that fight, you know, and that's what we want to see. You know, like, we want to see great fights. And I think if the Usyk fight doesn't happen, that's a great rematch to be made.
Can I ask you, what is your opinion on the stoppage? Because when I was sat pretty close, and I was thinking at the time, the right call. I watched the replay and went the wrong call. And then I'm sort of caught in the middle thinking, actually, the ref's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because if he lets it carry on, and then the referee will be said, look, why don't you look at his eyes, he wasn't throwing back. But then if he doesn't and ends up winning the fight, it's like, oh, well, that's great refereeing. So you're kind of caught there, aren't you, I think?
But it's like, again, none of us are fighters, right? So he might say in his gameplay, he was just dodging shots. Because actually, when you look at the latter, like just before it was called off, shots were gloves missing, right?
Yeah.
And he threw 2 shots, I think, after Fabio threw 25 shots. I'm not saying they're all connected, but he threw probably 25 shots. Joseph threw 2 shots, and then there was probably 10 more punches after that when the ref jumped in. But it's easy in hindsight to go, or us to be watching and go, actually, 5 of those 10 shots didn't even land, which they didn't, and that's no disrespect. Like, Fabio's going to clean it, and maybe Joseph thinking, if I can ride this out for another minute, he's going to completely fuck himself, and then I'll clean it. I don't know. No, he's the only one who can tell you that. So, in hindsight, watching it, like with the aid of angles here, left, right, centre, seeing, right, that shot missed the glove, that shot, you know, went over his head, like, you could probably say, probably could have let it carry on. But again, like you say, 30 seconds later, he knocks him out, cut, and everyone's going, why'd you let it carry on? So, you can't win.
You might not be able to win here either, but I'm going to ask you. So Eddie said to me earlier, and I've never heard him say this, he said, the George Groves one with Carl Froch was similar. George, it probably should have been allowed to go on, and I just went, you what? I went, come on. I know. So, what's your opinion on that? No, obviously not. But that original one, that touch and go, obviously a big controversial stoppage which made a rematch. Your honest opinion, should it have been carried on? Should it have been stopped?
I haven't seen it in years, but controversy is a sport we're in. Controversy drives sports, doesn't it? Drives narrative, and could it have carried on? Probably, yes. And who knows what would have happened. But then we got to see Wembley Stadium with 70 or 80,000 people, as Carl likes to tell us.
Yeah, I think it was 80. Last one, good schedule coming up. Look, we'll ask what's coming in the future, but we know we're going to Stockton. You've a Wednesday fight night, I believe, as well. That threw me. I saw that and I'm like, my email's absolutely gone to shit here. You've definitely done something wrong. But look, Wednesday there. Obviously the Eubank Benn stuff coming up. I mentioned Stockton, Monaco. What a card in Monaco, by the way. Do you think that's the best card you've put on in Monaco today?
100%. Best show we've ever done there. Best show. You know, Peter McGraw, Shabazz Massoud's a brilliant main event there. Beatrice Ferreira against Elif Turhan's just going to be an absolute war. Pat McCormack, Conor Walker, spectacular fight. Fair play to both of those guys for taking it. Johnny Fisher back out, looking to, you know, build upon and build himself back into a position there. Sean McComb against the Prince of Monaco, Hugo Mikalev as well. Unbelievable card there. November 29th, Ben Whittaker makes his Matchroom debut. Can't wait for that. It's been years in the making. November 15th, obviously, Eubank Benn, is going to be spectacular at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium 2 weeks from now. November 22nd, the unbelievable ring show live on DAZN around the world. Jesse Bam Rodriguez looks to unify on that card. December 6th, Monaco. December 13th, Sergio against Pacheco is an unbelievable fight as well. Joe Cordina, chief support on that card as well, another great fight on there. December 17th, we're on a Wednesday night. It's Christmas, so you're allowed to do strange things at Christmas. Wednesday night, Indigo, some of the best young talent coming through. Giorgio Vizioli headlines. Excited to see the continued journey of him amongst a whole host of other young names coming through, and probably one more to be announced before Christmas. And then obviously December 27th is the ring show in Riyadh.
One more to announce for the UK?
No, international.
We'll leave it there. Frank Smith, appreciate your time.
Cheers, mate.
The revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.